Hi, my name is Julio Medina. I'm an assistant professor here at Emory University and a dancer choreographer in Atlanta. I ended up in dance, I think, through my upbringing as a Chicano in Los Angeles, in what is Tongva territory. But I grew up going to quinceañeras or staying up until midnight dancing with my family on Christmas Eve, dancing cumbias and merengues. So I always loved dance and I loved getting on the dance floor and getting sweaty and connecting with people and vibing, with for the good music. And I think ultimately that's what led me to dance. In high school I was playing soccer, and then when I was a junior I wanted to switch and I started to dance, like hip hop and breaking. And then in college I had the opportunity to study dance, which I didn't have that opportunity growing up in LA. I think maybe even because of my cultural heritage I didn't study dance. So I never thought about dance that way, but then I had the chance to do that here at Emory, and then I went for it. So my upbringing as a Chicano in South Los Angeles has influenced, I think, how I view the world. The neighborhood itself, South Central, is predominantly what we recognize as Latino and African American. And I think the combination of these two communities, the what Latinos I recognize as inheritors of Mesoamerican indigenous cultures, yeah, and then African American, from Africa, cultures from Africa that has been remixed in a way. And so, like, I growing up with rancheras and mariachis and cumbias, but also like hip hop and NWA, that really influenced, I think, this like alliance or this like sense of like community and like bridging. And I think also like a musicality, and I think like a striving for balance or for peace, between communities. I think that has really shaped how I make work, how I carry myself in the world, how I engage with my students. Yeah. So how do I apply this idea of like hybrid identities, or this idea of mestizaje to my choreography? I think it changes. I think there's different iterations of how it shows up. I think definitely in the movement language, that's one of the main things. I think my interest and ability and commitment, to dance hip hop or to dance in that community, and be a guest in the Afro diaspora, because really the hip hop to me comes from the Afro diaspora. But then also bringing in like the footwork from Latin music, from or even like the musicality that I got from playing Latin jazz. I used to play the flute too, so it shows up in the movement language more than anything, I think. I said I think about hip hop as the Afro diaspora, but I still recognize that, especially its roots in the Bronx, had a lot of like Puerto Ricanos and a lot of Latino influence too. I know it's like up for a debate, but I think growing up in South Los Angeles per se, I think like from growing up in South LA, to me it was introduced, I think, more like as a African American culture thing. And now I see that we've all contributed to it. I use the cipher, and the cipher is what we recognize like as a dance circle, and it has its own long history in the United States, all the way back to when African slaves were forcibly brought here, in something called the ring shout. But I digress. I bring the students to the cipher, and I encourage them to improvise. And in that improvisation, I tell them to bring their whole selves. So that means bring your background. Don't try to mold into a mainstream anything or an idea of what you think, dance should look like. I tell them, bring your steps from India, bring your steps from China, bring your cultural background from Lithuania, from all these cultures around the world. And I think around the world, hip hop has come to do that too, in a very street dance aesthetic. And so I apply that in the classroom, and it's very scary for the students, but by the end of the semester, I think they really get it. But the body doesn't lie. The body does not lie, and it's one of the best ways to express how we feel, and it's also one of the best ways for another human being to recognize how somebody else feels. And sometimes words can say so much, but sometimes the words cannot be spoken. They need to be expressed in a different way. And so that's why I feel that dance, I think, can express some of the deepest, darkest, but also most joyous, um, experiences of human beings. I think Atlanta is really fun and talented, and has like pockets of these really cool artists. From hip hop, there's like so many great street dance artists out here in popping, breaking, and crumping, and to contemporary and ballet. And then there's folklorico. There's like flamenco groups. There's ballroom groups. So there's a lot. There really is a lot. I think it's just kind of spread out. But Atlanta has a very vibrant dance scene. If anything, it still remains underground, and sometimes sometimes that's better. Dance programs and the field of dance has been changing in recent years. There were a lot of grants and possibilities and opportunities for performance for non-Western dance forms. Especially in the past, I think 4 years, 4 to 6 years. I think the momentum, I think, will carry us through. I think that dance educators are, enlightened individuals, and I think are interested in shifting things. I know that from other colleagues in the field of dance in similar positions. My work is just part of a wave, or like a larger community of artists and scholars that are pushing for hip hop in higher education, because it's the contemporary dance of our era. It's, I think, the ballet of our era, and I think that's showing and shifting in education for younger generations now. Like most kids now, they all do hip hop, and so I think it's necessary that we bring it to higher education, to academia, because one, it's a perfect history lesson. Just dance as an art form does what other art forms cannot do.